Hello, you're very welcome to episode 4 of the Rossie GA podcast in association with Shannonside FM. We're here at King of Moffat Dr. Hyde Park to chat to Roscommon and St. Foley's forward Ciaráin Murtagh. Okay, we're here at King of Moffat Dr. Hyde Park chatting to Ciaráin Murtagh. Ciaráin, you're very welcome. We'll start off with your decision to come back to the county fold. You took a year out, this year just gone. Last year was probably a disappointing way to end with the Cork defeat. Had you always planned to take a year out this year?
I don't know, Darragh, to be honest. I kind of take every year as it comes, and then once the season is over with club and all, I kind of reassess everything. I suppose look at my own body, think about my own mind and stuff, see how that is, see if I'm ready to go for another year. So there is a lot of things to consider as well before you go back for another year. But I just had a few things on this year where I couldn't give 100% to the county. And that was probably the main reason why I stepped away then, yeah.
Was it tough watching from the sidelines? Maybe even that Tyrone win, we'll say, up in Oma. Are those kind of days, do you miss it watching on?
I wouldn't say it's tough watched. I'd just say it was enjoyable, to be honest, that Tyrone game. I was delighted for the lads because I know the commitment and the work that goes into all them big victories. I did miss it at times. I didn't miss it the whole year. Definitely didn't miss the pre-season or anything like that. But once you're kind of a step away from that bubble, different things going on in your own life, time does pass fairly quickly. And you kind of forget about it as well. But I stayed in touch with a lot of the lads. I watched all their games, to be honest, because I just enjoy football in general and watching matches and stuff. So I did miss it at times, but I'd say probably the time that I had away from it as well, I enjoyed it. Yeah. So I was happy enough with my year, to be honest.
Yeah, and look, you might have heard, people even writing your retirement. Once you take a year off and you're maybe, a certain age playing intercounty, people are saying, you won't come back. The decision to come back, was that always in your mind as well, that you give it another go?
I got a lot of messages, to be honest, when people heard I was coming back to Roscommon. They were saying it was the shortest retirement of all time. But I had never officially retired. I don't know if I ever will away from football, even with the club or anything like that. I don't really know if it was in my mind to ever come back or not. When you step away and you're kind of outside the bubble, and just, as I said, different things going on in life, I was happy enough the way my life was going. Then I suppose I kind of missed the competitiveness of it. Challenging myself, pushing the body as far as it can go. And then big games as well coming into the summer, I kind of did miss that as well. So it wasn't always in my mind to come back, but I remember having a chat with Davy Burke and I said I'd love another year working underneath him. And yeah, look, I'm back now and we'll see how it goes.
Does the new rules help in your decision to come back, that maybe, from a forward's point of view, that the game should be a bit more open, we'll say, next year, hopefully?
Yeah, it should be a lot more enjoyable, to be honest. And even from a neutral point of view, I think a lot more games should be more enjoyable to watch. That wasn't one of the big decisions in me coming back either, but the fact that they're in now, I'm happy enough with a lot of them, to be honest. And I do think it's going to be more enjoyable to play. I think management teams are going to be a lot more tactical as well, so it's going to be interesting how teams are going to break it down, how teams are going to defend this 3-on-3, 12v11 as well most of the time as well. So it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of thought put into games now as well.
Yeah, because you got that taste, was it the Interpros in Croke Park? How do you find that? Because it felt from watching it that the players on the pitch took to it quite quickly. You might have only had one training session before those couple of games.
Yeah, we did. We actually only had one session, to be honest. We all met down in Beacon and we just basically played a 15-on-15 game and just see how it went. And we spoke about the rules beforehand and stuff, but there was no real tactics. It was kind of just play the game as it is, and then all the new rules were implemented. Players playing at the top level can change rules or can adapt to these rules very, very quickly. So it was interesting to see how they went. Some of them are really enjoyable, and then some of them you just don't see them in games, and you're not going to see them in all games as well. So it'll be interesting now coming into the National League when teams are actually properly coached for these rules to see how they actually do play out.
So what were the ones that you enjoyed the most from the brief time you have had at them? I think the 3 up, 3 down probably will be the biggest change to the game. I don't know, would you go along those lines, just from a forward's point of view, that if it is congested on the other half of the field, that you might have a 3-on-3 inside, and there's that automatic kick pass up to the forwards that mightn't have been there the whole time before that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the 3-on-3 is one that everyone's really looking forward to. And there's a lot more kicking in the game. I noticed that in the Interprovincial there was a lot more kicking in the game, which is very enjoyable as a forward, and just as a team that wants to play kicking football as well. That's definitely going to be a good one for us. I really like the solo and go. I think that kind of speeds up the game a lot. And it's a rule that people have to think about while they're on the pitch as well. When you get fouled, you get up and you go. So they were the two that stood out for me the most, to be honest. And I'm really looking forward to them too, I think.
And the 2-point arc, and I think it was, well, I actually had Conor Devaney on, and Cathal Craig said the 2-point arc was suit you.
I don't know. But we'd see, there was a few of them in the trial game, and then again in Croke Park there was a lot of people trying to shoot from outside the 2-point arc. It is a good one. I suppose when you're playing the game, then you're kind of, will I step inside the 2-point arc and get the handy 1-pointer, or am I going to take the chance and go for the 2-pointer? So it will be interesting, and just looking out at the hide here as well, there's probably one who's going to be playing into one goal while the 2-point arc will be relevant, you know. So it'll be interesting to see whether, and everything will depend on whether that's going to be a big rule or not.
And I suppose the other thing with the 2-point arc is, will you have fellas actually who might be, say, 35 yards out, actually maybe going outside the 40-yard arc to get that 2-pointer? But I suppose it allows long range kicking, and I suppose that's what you want to see in the game, rewarding, you know, skills that are on show.
Absolutely, and there are some great kickers in all counties as well. So I am happy that one's coming in, that there will be a few long range scores got, but I think it's actually going to open up a lot more goal chances as well, where teams are going to think that there's a shooter outside, he's going for the 2-pointer here, and then there'll be little dink balls inside, and I think it's going to be exciting for corner forwards now, where they're going to get a lot more goal chances.
And just on the descent one as well, just from a player's point of view, that, you know, a referee can now bring it up 50 yards. Now I know fans, managers, players won't agree with every refereeing decision, but would that be something that she'd be in favour of? I don't know what it's like maybe in intercounty, but it feels at club level, just some of the stick referees get, you know, is probably just beyond the line sometimes. So maybe allowing them, that if it's brought up 50 yards, it might, you know, whether that's a management team or something, they might think again.
Yeah, no, I do think it is a good rule, but it's going to be a very hard one to police, to be honest.
Subjective, I suppose,
and just referees shouldn't get a lot of the abuse that they do get. And I know I can be harsh on a few referees myself, particularly at club level, but it's just, I suppose, you get so into the game and you just really want to win for your team, and it's just hard. Sometimes it's just, you know, it might just shout at a ref, or you might say something that you shouldn't have said to a ref, and then 50 yard is a big punishment, you know, in big games, and then it's going to be subjective on how a referee interprets the way that you're talking to the referee or whatever. But I think it is an important one to bring in, to try and have a bit more respect for referees, but it could be a little bit too harsh. 50 yards a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the rules that, as well, this handing the ball back to an opponent, like, I think Eamon Fitzmaurice said you literally nearly have to hand the ball back to the opponent. I'm not 100%, like, that's subjective where it's brought in then.
Yeah, no,
like, what's throwing a ball to someone on the ground or actually having to hand it back, you know?
Yeah, I don't see the need for that one, to be honest. It's going to be very hard to do when you're playing in a Connacht final or an All-Ireland quarter final, to just give the ball back to an opponent so that he can have an attack. But I suppose they have to try and bring in change, and this could be got rid of after the league, I don't know. So it'll be interesting just see if we do experience it that much in the league, you know.
Yeah, and the communication, even one of the biggest things I actually thought of in the Interpros was the referees were mic'd up and we got to actually hear the conversations and kind of explaining the rules to the players. There's probably communication on the pitch as well, you know, from all sides, referees and that, to get these, I suppose, in as smooth as possible. Club level, I think everyone's accepting that could be the real challenge. But in the Interpros, the referees that were there, the linesmen, it seemed to work fairly well. Yeah,
it did, in fairness. And as you said, they were able to communicate with each other, and you have your linesmen and your fourth official and then your umpires. But at club level, it's very hard to have these men for all these games, you know. And in fairness, they're coming out and doing these games. They might be doing 2 or 3 games a weekend. Like, it's tough going on referees and officials. So I don't know. It's going to be very, very tricky at a club level. There should be no issues with it at inter-county level, but we'll just have to wait and see, to be honest.
Yeah, so going on to yourself, John Evans would have brought you into the senior panel. I don't know what age were you at the time. You were quite young, weren't you?
Yeah, it was 2014, so I was, 21 maybe, 22. Yeah.
And it maybe, I don't know for yourself, maybe just took you a year or two to maybe fully, I suppose, get used to the pace. Like, from underage football to intercounty, I think everyone says it, and it's probably even more so nowadays. The jump up in terms of physicality and everything is just huge.
Yeah, it was 2014. I suppose first of all, I was just happy enough to be brought in. We were brought. There was a group of us brought into a development panel first of all, and then he brought us into the actual panel. So just delighted to be there in 2014, and there was a serious group of players there as well. Some Roscommon legends, to be honest, there at the time. So I was just delighted to be part of the group. I suppose at underage level, I was kind of always on underage panels, but I was never really a main player on any of them panels. I started on a lot of the teams, but I was never really a main player, and probably didn't have that belief that I would be a main player in a senior panel. So after a couple of years, and I suppose getting played by John and getting started in big championship games and stuff, that gave me more belief. Started to, I suppose, start games ahead of players that I would have looked up to and stuff like that. Yeah. So it just gradually got that belief, and then as the years went on, I was like, need to push on here and try and start, I suppose, making a bit of a name for myself and start helping the team to try and win games and stuff like that. So yeah, belief was a huge thing when I was younger, and then gradually as I got older, I got a bit more belief in myself.
Yeah, and John Evans, I mean, the job he's done is probably underrated. He took Roscommon from Division 3, left them in Division 1, and he brought in the likes of yourself, Diarmuid, Enda Doney, the Connor Daly probably as well, like a good core of what an All-Ireland under-21 finalist team. To get those lads blooded, he wasn't afraid to throw you all in, to be fair.
No, he wasn't. In fairness, he probably doesn't get enough praise for what he did for Roscommon football, to be honest, and he's done that with a lot of teams that he's went to. He's been very successful, John, and a really nice man, really just passionate about the game. He was travelling up and down from Kerry for training, so you could never second guess the effort that he put in. And I suppose he had done a stint of 3 or 4 years with Roscommon at that stage and decided to step away and see if another management team could take us on another level. So getting us up to Division 1, that was huge, and we've been thereabouts now since he left, really.
Yeah, well, moving on to 2017, of the year before, it was Kevin McStay, Fergal O'Donnell. Kevin took over by himself in 2017, and I suppose a year of two halves. The league is disastrous from everyone else's point of view. You get relegated, win the last game, then you beat Leitrim in the Connacht semi-final, you go to Salt Hill against Galway. Not many giving Roscommon a chance. I think Galway obviously had beaten Mayo as well. So is that, and you're the captain that day as well, is that one of the real highlights, I suppose, in your career to lift the Nestor Cup in Salt Hill, and I suppose to hammer Galway, really? 9 points in the end. One of the best performances a Roscommon team has put in recent years.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a highlight for me, I suppose, being captain first and foremost, but then to win the Connacht title as well. It was a huge, I suppose, everything. That was what we were striving for when we first came in. That would have been the goal. Obviously, it's pushed on a bit further now, but that was the goal, to get that first Connacht medal. It was a strange league. We ended up losing a lot of games in the league, and as you said, we won the last one against Cavan out here, and that was a huge game for us to win, even though we were already relegated. It was just a massive result for us to get, and we went down to Salt Hill then in the final with a lot of confidence. And then, as you said, we ended up actually winning it comprehensively as well. So it was just the celebrations and everything after it. That was just a massive game and a massive win for us as a team and as a management team as well. And it's just one that will probably always stick out for me, no matter what I achieve in sport. It's definitely one that will always stick out.
Yeah, and I spoke to Darragh Craig recently about sort of pitch invasions and seeing the fans on the pitch. And look, Roscommon people love their football, and whether that's early pitch invasions or whatever, I think those kind of moments on the pitch after a game, it's kind of, I mean, maybe from your point of view, you see this is what we do for nearly, a realization as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And like I was one of them pitch invaders in 2001 and in 2010 as well. So yeah, it was just unreal to be part of that. And as you said, give joy to so many people. My family are hugely into football as well, and just giving them enjoyable moments for them. It just keeps them going from week to week, just having them big results and winning trophies and stuff like that. Just delighted to be part of it and give people something enjoyable to shout about.
Yeah, and AIB did a small documentary on the team. It's on YouTube as well. Just even having something like that, because let's be honest, I can't really think of any other teams that have that. So just something, even, especially you won that year, a Connacht title, to be able to look back on that, whether you want to do it now or not, or maybe in years to come, it's something nice to have.
It is. It was brilliant that time, and it kind of, everyone was surprised by it at the start, to be honest. We were all like, geez, why is there a fella going around, in our team meetings and stuff with a camera and listening to everything that we were saying? But as the year went on, then they just came part of the group, to be honest. And the fact that we won the Connacht title then, it's great to have it to look back on. It's on YouTube for everyone to see. I think we got a lot of credit from a lot of people for doing it. And I'd say that was the idea of Kevin as well, just let someone in and see what goes on behind the scenes. To be honest, I think it should be done an awful lot more. We're kind of, I suppose everyone's held back as an intercounty player to actually speak about things that they want to speak about, or be fully honest about things in interviews and things like that. So I think it should be done an awful lot more, and maybe it will in years to come, and I really hope that it does, and gives people like you as well a chance to interview and get questions and get answers out of players as well. So I think it should be done a lot more, to be honest.
Because I look from our point of view in the media, maybe fans, is the promotion of the games is always brought up, and whether that's a midweek show on RT or something, you look over the water at, and look, the Premier League is professional and all that, but just the example, GGA is the biggest sport in Ireland, so like to promote it more, to maybe have things like that. Like, I don't know, from your point of view, like, he probably got to the stage where the cameraman was just part of the team, and he probably didn't pass any heat of him by the end. Just opening up the doors maybe a bit more.
I think it should be done, 100%. I think it should be done more. And I don't think it makes an awful lot of difference. If I give you a few words here on Galway or Mayo, like, is that going to make an awful lot of difference to the results? When we play them, I don't think so. But I suppose it's just that culture that we were brought into, that you just don't really say anything too out there, which is kind of frustrating at times. And I suppose I'll probably say a lot to you here that was kind of, I'm not giving you an awful lot of information, but it's just annoying. And it's just kind of the habits that you've gained from the last few years. But I'd really like if players started to open up a little bit more, because some people have unbelievable stories in the background, so hopefully it does develop into that over the coming years.
Yeah, and just touching on the rest of 2017, Mayo in the quarterfinal, the first day, you put the ball in the net. I think it's 7 points up. Of course, Lee Keegan had other ideas. Maybe 15 seconds after. Did you, when you had the ball in the net, maybe, I don't know what age you were at the time, maybe 23, 24, just maybe inexperience in that team that was maybe just there, that some players just suddenly think, oh, we're in a semi-final possibly here, we're 7 points up after 10 minutes, or did that play into at all? Just a bit of inexperience against a really experienced Mayo. I mean, that was a seasoned Mayo team you came up against.
Probably inexperience comes into it. I think we went up there with a lot of belief, but Mayo were on a good trajectory at that time. They were in All-Ireland finals nearly every year at that stage, but we did go up there with belief, and there was a huge atmosphere up there. That is probably the best atmosphere I've played in, to be honest. Then when you get to 2 goals, you're kind of like, as you said, we could take them down here. But as you said, some of the Mayo players had other ideas, and then the replay just totally went against us. But we had huge belief that day, but Mayo just clawed it back. I don't know how they did it, and then we ended up clawing it back for a draw. But it was a really exciting game, and I think if we got over the line that year, I think we would have pushed on a lot more over 2019, 20 and so on. So we've still been trying to break down that barrier of getting to the semi-final, which is probably disappointing looking at the panel of players that we've had,
Yeah, and I mentioned, like, the likes of Lee Keegan will say, I mean, if it wasn't for him, probably he would have been in a semi-final. Like, that first half, I think he got about 1-3, from half back. He marked Enda as well. That, I suppose that's from the quarterfinals, maybe semi-final level, when you're just coming up against these Dublins, Kerrys, Mayos, like seasoned teams. And look, until you break down that barrier, hopefully then if you get to a semi-final, that teams you'd be more experienced than going to Croke Park from there.
Yeah, exactly. And they had the experience of being there and knowing how to win, and I suppose being down by a few points, they never really panicked. They got the crowd into the game, started getting on top, and they got their scores, and as you said, like the likes of Lee Keegan and players like that, they were able to claw back in. And I think we do need to get over that barrier and start believing now, because we've beaten teams in Division 1, so we should have that confidence. I definitely have the confidence in the team that we can push on as well. To be honest, I wouldn't be back if I didn't believe that. So there's absolutely no reason why we can't push on now.
And just briefly touching on the replay, I know it was a low day. I think you were dropped, put onto the bench. After that, was that even tough to take? Because you were captain at the time as well. I think yourself and Finton were on the bench. That must have been tough to take, and even that first half, watching on must have been.
That was probably one of the biggest hits in my career, to be honest. Just we were called into a meeting, to be honest, and myself and Finton were told that we weren't starting. So it was a huge shock to both of us, I'd say at the time. I wasn't unreal in the first game, but thought I had done enough to start the next day again. But I remember I was staying with Donny Smith at the time in the room, and he wasn't obviously in the meeting when I was called in to say I wasn't playing. But when I went back to the room, he knew fairly quickly. I didn't want to tell him because I didn't want people to know, because I didn't want to bring the camp down or anything like that. But he knew straight away, I'd say, by my reaction that I wasn't starting. So that was a huge hit, and loads of rumours going around then after it that myself and Fintan spent the night in Coppers that night. But no, none of them are true. But that was a big hit, to be honest, to get dropped. It's not a nice feeling.
Yeah, but I suppose, look, from that year, maybe it was the year. Look, you got that Connacht title, and the second Mayo game didn't go to plan. But to take Mayo to a replay, it just felt maybe that you went from an experienced team to starting to get up to that top 8 level. Yeah,
and I think that did give a lot of players belief that we can stay at the top table and put it up to these teams as well. And like that in the Connacht Championship, starting to beat the likes of your Mayos and Galways from 2017 on. I think we've got a lot of I suppose confidence in the team and what we can actually do as a team. So hopefully now that pushes on a little bit further now and we start beating them more consistently.
Because you took another year out. What year was
2019?
So you missed the Connacht title that year, and I would say it was a hard to watch on this year. Was it hard watching on that, or were you content with your decision?
I was, and like it was something I was always like when I made my decision. One of my questions was, would I be able to sit in Pearse Stadium and Roscommon win a Connacht title and me sitting watching it? And I was happy with that decision. Like Diarmuid and a lot of my close friends were playing that day, so I was delighted for them to win it. And I was down in Castlebar when they bet Mayo as well. So I went to the games, but I had to be content in my own decision. Of course, you would have loved to be part of it, but a lot of work goes into just showing up for them kind of finals in Pearse Stadium, So I was content with my decision. Obviously, you'd love to be part of it as well when you see them lifting the trophy and stuff like that. But it's not one that I regret. No, definitely not.
Yeah, we're going about Pearse Stadium. We're in a windy High Park today, and I suppose Pearse Stadium and some of these grounds test your footballing ability to the max. I suppose 2017, going back to, the weather that day was just shocking. So I suppose even those conditions kind of test you as a player in itself.
They do. And 16 we played them in replay down in McHale Park again. Another wet and windy day. So we're kind of used to it, and even the Hyde has become probably a very windy pitch now at stages. But I'm also used to it with our own club, St. Folius, as well. It's a very windy pitch as well. So you just kind of deal with it. And once you're in the heat of the battle, you don't really pass much heat on the weather, to be honest. It's probably not great for people that are watching it because it can get sloppy and different things like that, and mightn't be as high scoring as what you'd want. But you just kind of get used to the conditions.
And you mentioned Diarmuid there as well. Brian was in with the county panel as well for a few years. So there was 3 of you together. So how special is that to have? Not only just play on a club senior team, but to play on a county senior team. To have your brothers alongside you. I know your parents must be very proud to see that. I don't know how they are watching you on the pitch, but from a family point of view, to have that number of people from the family on the pitch, must be special.
Yeah, 100%. It's 2017. We were all involved in that kind of title, and then me as captain. It was really special. I think it was 2016 or 17. We actually all played a championship game against Cavan, I think, in Breffni Park together. So that was a big thing as well. As I said, my parents are hugely into it. They obviously get very nervous watching us and stuff, and my dad would be a huge influence on my career as well. But I think Brian probably doesn't get as much praise or as much credit as what he deserved, to be honest. Just a huge leader around the club, and was a great lad to have in Roscommon as well. And he's been a huge influence on my career as well as an older brother, and just the way he handles himself around the club. And I'm actually really excited to see what the future has in store for him as a manager and as a coach. I just don't think he's going to be an excellent coach. And then obviously I've played with Diarmuid for a little bit longer as well, and probably have been fighting with him for positions since 2014. I was delighted to see him have a serious season last year, and I think he can really push on now to be top player.
Yeah, because is that tough? Because you are competing against each other. So if one is starting, is one on the bench? Is there a small rivalry between each other? Because you are, look, at the end of the day, you're brothers, but you're players. You're fighting for positions, and you have to look after yourself at the end of the day. You want to be the one that's on the pitch.
Yeah, there's a good rivalry there, to be honest. Like I like to see him be more successful than me in that regard, but I want to be starting, and if I'm against him, I'll do everything I can to get that jersey off him. But if he gets in ahead of me, I'm absolutely delighted for him as well. But there's a good rivalry there. I suppose I was always trying to be better than him as he was younger. You know, he was a big name underage, and I was always trying to be like what he was like. You know, so he kind of pushed me on, and I think he made me a better player in general. And then, as I said, Brian then I think needs to take a lot of credit for both of us, really. Yeah,
and within the club, and you'll probably see it yourselves. And I was going back to pitch invasions and that. But I suppose you're looked up to probably now within the club from the under 10s, under 12s, under 14s. You were that player that was then, you know, maybe 10 years ago or whatever. So how important is it that I suppose, young people can see, whether after the game 100 kids run onto the pitch for a photograph or an autograph, it kind of just makes their day. And I said to Darragh Craig as well, everyone was that child once.
100%. And as I said, like I was the pitch invader in 2001 and 2010. I think it's huge as intercounty players to have that influence on these younger players. And when they come out and sign jerseys, I'd stay here all day and sign them, or pictures or anything like that. It's really, really important, because we were them kids once upon a time. So I'd always make time for that, and I think it's great when you see them running on and pitch invasions. And it's a pity, I suppose, in likes of Croke Park, that you don't get these at pitch invasions. But it's great here for home league games, home championship games, and the crowd, because we do have a strong following, a really loud following, and there's loads of kids involved in that, and it's great to see them after games.
Yes, we'll kind of. COVID came. I think you came back.
Around that
into
time,
that COVID season at the end. We'll kind of just, because it probably wasn't a successful time probably for a year or two. Even when Davy Burke came in, you're in Division 1. You had a great league. Go into the Mayo game then on Easter Sunday in McHale Park, and probably, I know you weren't involved in 2019, but again, maybe written off to an extent. Roscommon teams probably love that. I'd say. So going into that, you were probably primed for an ambush. Yeah,
probably, and it was one where we had targeted from a long way out. We were probably nearly even targeting it during the league. Like, you know, we were just waiting for that championship game. But yeah, Davey came in. He's a very exciting manager, you know, really passionate about it. It's only a couple of years older than me, to be honest. So, you know, you have that connection with him as well. And he was successful with teams that he's been with previously. So we were happy to get him in. And, you know, he put a lot into the coaching aspect of the game. Then, we didn't have a great league. Well, it was an alright league, I suppose, but then the main one was championship. We were all kind of focused towards that, and a lot of people referenced that game on Easter Sunday, and then the ambush was there, and it was a great game.
Because a lot was said that year that Roscommon went hard at the league and then kind of burnt off a championship. But I suppose the point I'd make is that Davy Burke was the last manager appointed. I don't know when he got actually back into training. So again, it's because maybe Roscommon will say are doing well, and they fall off. He said, "You automatically, they went hard for the league." Like that's the kind of maybe rubbish that you have to listen to. I don't know how much actually do you actually listen to the Sunday game, radio, or whatever. Do you try and block it out?
You would. Like, it's kind of lazy analysis that I think. They went hard at the league and then they dropped off in the championship. It's nearly impossible to be peaking at different times or actually predict when you're going to peak. So you need to be very careful in that regard when you're training and stuff, and when there's matches coming up. And when you're playing in Division 1, you have to go hard to try and pick up wins, you know, because all these teams are trying to stay in Division 1 as well. And a lot of them have been in Division 1 for many years. So we go hard for every league, you know, Division 1, Division 2, whatever it may be. And then you get your few weeks break before you go into Championship. But I don't think going really hard in the league has a huge impact on the championship. You're still playing against the likes of Mayo, the likes of Galway, these teams, so they're going to be hard bet no matter what way you went in the league, you know. So I think it can be kind of lazy analysis just saying, they went hard and then they weren't able to keep it going. So I don't really agree with that.
I think the greatest example was the Dublin game in Croke Park. You actually ended up scoring the point off whatever the 5 minute or so possession. I think that was probably the laziest thing, because it wasn't like you were just keeping the ball in your own half. You actually went up the pitch, came back. It wasn't that Kicks Dublin weren't engaging. You were 3 or 4 points up at the time. Why would you? And I think the thing that's forgotten about is you actually did get a score off us. That's all, you know. Little old Roscommon will say that's kind of if Dublin or Kerry did that, you saw great game management.
They were able to control it. We were annoyed over that one because that was all over the place and there was no avoiding not seeing the analysis on that, to be honest. But it's not as if we trained out here to hold the ball for 5 minutes. We got some absolute hammerings against Dublin and other teams in Croke Park as well. So we were going to hold the ball for as long as we needed to hold it. And then when they did actually engage, Diarmuid took on as Brian Howard, and then we did get to score. So I don't know, as you said, other teams would have got serious praise for that passage of play, and then we were absolutely slated for holding on to the ball against the best team ever, to be honest. And to be able to hold it for 5.5 minutes, we should have got credit for it. But yeah, to get the score at the end then was brilliant. Like,
well, that's it. If he went up just open, expansive, and kick it in and all that, and you'd be called naive.
We would, 100%. And people would be like, why were they kicking it? Why were they doing this, that, and the other? And you'd end up getting absolutely hammered. So, no, we were happy. No, it was probably a pity that we didn't get the win in that game. We kind of died off and it ended up being a draw. But it was a bit of lazy analysis then at the end of it, saying that we were just holding the ball and boring old Roscommon. And we kind of got labelled with that then for the whole year. So it was actually really, really annoying. But look, people have their own opinion and they're entitled to that. But I mightn't agree with it all the time.
Yeah, because you go from, I suppose, beating Mayo. I know you lost to Galway in the Connacht, drawing with Dublin in Croke Park, Kildare in Tullamore, and you're probably expected to win that, end up losing the game. I think Kevin Feely with the wonder score from the sideline with a mark. So that means it's a trip to Cork, but not a bad draw. I think for both teams they would have seen as an opportunity. Is that one of the real disappointing games?
Yeah, well,
because he actually Clare, I won't mention the Clare game, but it was nearly the
two Clare games actually.
Yeah, the flip side, it was I think Clare came back from 5 or 6. He came back from 5 or 6 against Cork, but didn't go on and get the point that Clare got.
Yeah, and I think the Kildare one was a big hit on our confidence, to be honest. But then, as you said, it was probably I'd say Cork were happy enough to get us, but we were happy enough to get Cork as well at the time as well, the way the draw was and the teams that were left in it. But the fact was, I suppose, we had to get up, travel down to Cork, be ready for that game. And we started the game fairly well, got into the game. They obviously got ahead, and then we clawed it back. And then I think it was probably a wrong refereeing decision, probably went against us at the end. But look, we probably didn't do enough on the day to win, but it was actually a great experience down in the new Páirc Uí Chaoimh as well. We had a serious crowd down there. They had a serious crowd down there. So looking forward to getting back down there in the league this year now.
Because look, you mentioned the decision at the end. I think that kind of day shows what home advantage can do. Because, like, my God, I was down there and we brought a good crowd down. It's a long journey, but I felt like the Cork football crowd just decided to come back that day, and I think. Just a roar influenced probably the referee's decision.
100%, and as I said, like that's how some referees will interpret what Connor did that day, and that's why I just be a little bit wary with some of the new rules as well, how different referees will interpret them as well. But I'm sure they're getting a lot of briefings on the rules, so it'll be exciting to see how the year goes. Yeah.
How do you feel after a loss to, say, Cork, the Clare loss? The season's over. You're on such a high, maybe a few weeks before that. Then it's just gone. And of course you're disappointed, but does it take a while just even to mentally get over it?
It does, and the mental aspect probably doesn't get talked about enough, to be honest, in the game. We have an excellent psychologist, and I work closely with her as well, Kelly Fay. She's excellent. But the mental side of the whole game doesn't get talked about it enough. And as I said, like in interviews and stuff, people don't talk about it and they won't open up about different things. But it takes a while to get over them losses, and sometimes you never get over them, to be honest. You just move on. But lucky enough to be going back to a good club, a very supportive club. Lads that are good crack, and they bring you back down to earth again straight away. And you kind of go away after a few days. You're back playing with your club and back with your family, and you realise what's really, really important out there. Like, it's only a game of football at the end of the day. I know we put our heart and soul into it when we're at it, but life moves on, and there's loads going on out there that's more important than a football match. Yeah.
So just turning ahead to the next intercounty season, not too far away, Division 2. So it's not a Division 1 campaign, but there's still some competitive games to be played. And you mentioned even Páirc Uí Chaoimh is going to be a good game to get down there. Is always the aim to get back to Division 1. And I think, in fairness to yourself and Roscommon, we've been good at actually getting back, and we bounce back every time pretty much.
Yeah, we do. I think this is actually, some of us are going for a 5th Division 2 medal, which is
impressive.
Yeah, but then you're like, we should be in Division 1 for longer. Exactly. So look, the aim 100% will be to get back into Division 1, because you always want to be playing against the top teams and playing at the highest level, no matter what team you're playing for, or what competition you're in. You want to be at the top competition. I don't think that'll be the end goal of the year. It'll obviously be a huge aim for us to get out of Division 1, but we'll be focusing a lot on Championship too, I'd imagine, and trying to push on in that regard.
Yeah, and this new format as well. I suppose you played the 1 year in it. How did you find that, this 3 teams actually going through?
Yeah, it's kind of a strange one because
Probably helped us.
It did well help. Last year,
third,
both years probably. Yeah, but it kind of a lot comes down to the last game, and I suppose that they didn't really want dead rubbers and stuff into last games, but a lot of teams you nearly pick up that last win and you're through, like, or you're into preliminary quarter final. But you're getting a lot of high end games. You're playing against top teams, week in, week out. So it's enjoyable as a player because I suppose you're not training as much, so you're getting loads of game time. So yeah, it'll be interesting. There probably could be a few more tweaks made to it where there's a lot more riding on every game. But it's very hard to please everyone and keep everyone happy,
Yeah, and finally, just the overall landscape of the All-Ireland is probably as open as it has been for a good while. You've seen the final Armagh, Galway, two teams that probably Roscommon wouldn't see themselves too far behind.
Yeah,
I know that Armagh bet Roscommon in Croke Park, but given for a red card, and that could have been a different story. Is that the confidence that yourselves be bringing into next year? Mayo, Galway, Armagh, Tyrone, so many of these teams maybe outside of your Dublin and Kerry, and we've seen Dublin obviously a few big losses for them next year. Gives a bit of hope, and that if you can get a run, get into quarter final, win that, and you're suddenly a semi-final, who knows?
Yeah, 100%. And as I said, like every year I kind of reassess everything that went on, and one of the things you'd look at is like, is the team pushing on, or do we have the potential to win Sam Maguire? Like, and I wouldn't have came back if I didn't believe that. Like, I think we have a group of players there down that can achieve things that haven't been achieved in a long, long time. So that will be the end goal. To try and get over that line and to win a Sam Maguire. And as you said, like Armagh winning an All Ireland wasn't like, oh Jesus, I can go back now because Armagh won it. They put a lot of effort into winning that. But it does give teams belief. And like as you said, a lot of things went against Roscommon that day against Armagh. Who knows what could have happened if these things didn't happen. But I think it does give a lot of teams belief. But that's definitely the goal, and it has to be the goal now to push on and try and win Sam Maguire. I don't see why you'd do all this training and stuff if you didn't believe that or didn't want that. So that's definitely what I'm back training for anyway.
Well, look, we're very happy to have you back, and hopefully we have a good run into the Championship Division 2, and who knows after that. Ciaráin, thanks very much for joining me.
Thanks very much for having me. Thank you.